You could have the best products in the world, but if customers can't find you, they can't buy from you. So today, I'm demystifying the process of researching keywords and optimizing your listings for Etsy search step by step so that you can start generating more sales on Etsy in 2026. For those who are new here, my name is Starla, founder of the Handmade Alpha Academy for Etsy sellers and manager at eRank.com, Etsy's most popular SEO tool. And if SEO or search engine optimization feels like a complete mystery to you, you're not alone. In fact, one of the most common comments that I see on my channel comes from sellers who say, okay, I did my SEO correctly, but I'm still not seeing sales. Even as a manager at the world's most popular SEO company, not even I know if I've done my SEO correctly because that's just not how SEO works. Instead, think of Etsy SEO as an ongoing science experiment. In order to know if you've well optimized your listings for search, you have to test, experiment, monitor your results, and tweak your strategy. Which is exactly why I don't recommend SEO services and consultants who offer to do this work for you. Trends change every single month, so unless you want to pay this guy a pretty penny every single time that you need to make changes, it's better to just learn this stuff on your own, and I promise, it's not that hard. Your first step is to head over to eRank.com to begin doing keyword research. This is an important first step because without a data-driven keyword tool, you won't know if shoppers are actually searching for the words that you're placing in your listings, titles, and tags. If you don't already have an eRank membership, you have a few different plans to choose from. Just be aware that if you choose the free plan, you'll only be able to do so much research each day before you hit your quota. So be sure to use your searches wisely. But to help you guys out, I'll also add a 30-day trial link down below. After you've logged in and connected your Etsy shop, click on the Keyword Research tab right here, and then click on the Keyword tool. When doing our keyword research, we want to start broad and narrow our way down. If you are selling this beige wool chunky knit blanket, it's better to start our search with the word blanket because eRank will be able to suggest more specific ideas based on this search. It'll also help you to not use up your quota as quickly if you're using the free plan. Once you've typed in your broad single word keyword, we want to spend some time on this page. eRank will display several important pieces of information, including the average monthly searches, average clicks, the click-through rate, and the competition for this term. And most likely, all of these things will be really high since we've typed in a broad phrase, so don't worry so much about these numbers right away. You may also notice some badges like these if you're super lucky. A trending in search badge means that this type of product is seeing a lot of popularity on Etsy over the past week, which makes sense since it's currently November. And even better is if you see this high conversion badge, which indicates that products related to this keyword are actively selling at a notable rate over the past 30 days. All really great indicators that our blankets will be very popular on Etsy. Next, we're going to scroll down to the related searches box down below. And from this list, we want to begin looking for possible keywords to experiment with in our tags and titles. I also highly recommend clicking on this button down here and creating a keyword list to save these words in so it's easier to keep track of them. To save a keyword to your list, create or select a list from this box, then begin clicking the stars next to the keywords that you'd like to add to your list. This will allow you to go back to them later. Now, while looking for keywords to add to your listings, I recommend working with a combination of low-hanging fruits and 1 or 2 high-hanging fruits. The low-hanging fruits are keywords that may not be searched for as much and may not have the best clicks and click-through rates, but the competition is lower, which means we can hopefully rank for these faster. A few terms that I might consider low-hanging fruits are weighted blanket, wool blanket, and chunky blanket. So though blanket on its own is going to be a little too hard to rank for, we may be able to rank for some of these long tail keywords or keywords that describe a very specific type of item. Now, before we move on to find more keywords, let's work with what we have and start crafting our title. When it comes to Etsy SEO, there are two sides of the algorithm that we want to appeal to. One side likes to see our keywords exactly as the shopper types them in. This is called exact matching, and it will result in stronger keyword matching. For example, if someone searches for chunky knit blanket, we would want to have the phrase chunky knit blanket completely intact in our tags and title to make an exact match. I like to call these keywords our superstar keywords because they are the VIPs of our listings. We want to make sure that our superstar keywords really shine because your superstar keyword is ultimately what you want to be known for. The other side of the algorithm is a little less powerful, but still important for ranking. It's called broad matching. During the process of broad matching, Etsy plays a fun little game of mix and match, where they put words from your tags and titles together, regardless of whether or not those words are next to each other. For example, in the keyword phrase, beige, wool, chunky knit blanket, we would exact match for chunky knit blanket, but we would broad match for wool blanket, beige knit blanket, wool knit blanket, chunky blanket, beige chunky blanket, and so on. Keeping Etsy's broad matching capabilities in mind, it's unnecessary to craft our title in a way that repeats the same words over and over again. For example, rather than saying beige knit blanket, chunky knit blanket, wool blanket, weighted blanket, we could instead just say weighted beige wool chunky knit blanket, because we'll exact match for our superstar keyword, chunky knit blanket, and we'll broad match for the terms weighted blanket, wool blanket, beige knit blanket, and so on. Every time you add a new keyword to your title, you basically increase the number of combinations that you could be matching for, both exact matching and broad matching. Now that we've crafted our title with the most important aspect of our product, we want to scroll down to our tags section to begin providing Etsy with additional context about our blanket. As of Etsy's most recent update, it's no longer necessary to write long, drawn-out titles, nor is it necessary to add things like potential holidays or recipients into our titles, unless the product is holiday-themed in nature, like a Santa-themed blanket. Since our blanket is just a plain beige one, we can add additional terms into our tags section instead. For example, I noticed when searching for blanket-related keywords that grandma blanket was a low-hanging fruit. And if we do a quick search for grandma gift, the trend graph shows us that searches for grandma gifts typically surge in November and December. I also noticed that the term great grandma gifts has relatively low competition as well. So despite the searches being a bit lower, it would still make sense to kill two birds with one stone by adding the term great grandma gift into my tags. In this example, we'll be exact matching for terms such as great grandma gift, and great grandma. In Etsy's Ultimate Guide to Search, sellers are also advised to add the most important words from our titles into our tags as well. This repetition of your most important terms in both your title as well as your tags helps to solidify exactly what your product is, as well as who it's for. Remember, tags are an area that Etsy will also exact match as well as broad match, so we'll do our best to keep some of our keywords from our title together when possible. Our superstar keyword, chunky knit blanket, is a little too long to have in a tag on its own, so we'll need to break it up a bit in a way that makes the most sense. We could either break it into chunky knit or knit blanket, and since I doubt anyone is searching for chunky knit on its own, our best bet will be to enter it as knit blanket. Next, we could add chunky wool and beige throw. And just for the sake of getting an exact match, I'm also going to add the term weighted blanket. Technically, you don't need to repeat keywords over and over again because we'll still broad match for weighted blanket, since blanket is already nested in the term knit blanket. But when it comes to really good low-hanging fruit terms with high searches and low competition that also fit within a single tag, sometimes it's worth it to try for an exact match. Now that we've used all the words from our title, we still have some room to experiment with. This is a great opportunity to use some of the keywords from our initial search that didn't quite make the cut for our title. These terms may have been too competitive or too broad for your title, but they'll be great for our tags. So let's go back to our original search for blanket in the keyword tool. Okay, so I saved customizable blanket, soft blanket, wedding blanket, mom blanket, crocheted blanket, bedspread, shabby chic bedding, engagement gift, and I'm also going to add the term cottagecore decor because I think this could fit into the overall cottagecore style. Let's add some of these into our tags. We'll do our best to combine them where they make sense, but it's okay if not every single tag reads perfectly. Since Etsy will mix and match every word from every tag in every possible combination, it's totally fine to have a few tags that don't make sense. Now, you may be saying, Starla, you just said that we don't need to repeat the word gift because Etsy will broad match it. And yes, this is true, but oftentimes you'll end up out of ideas before you hit your 13 tags. And it's better to repeat a word and try to aim for an exact match for a term like engagement gift rather than adding a one-word tag like engagement. Remember, this is all about testing and experimenting. Once you've published your listing, it's important to remember that Etsy's algorithm can take an average of 60 to 90 days to build a quality score for your listing. Every time you add a new listing, Etsy begins collecting data based on how shoppers interact with it. And after a period of 60 to 90 days, Etsy's able to decide where in search that listing should be placed. With this in mind, it's important not to continuously edit this listing again during that 60 to 90 day window. We want to make sure that we aren't interrupting Etsy as they assess your listing quality, so be sure to give your listings plenty of time to grow. The last thing that I want to show you is how to keep an eye on your keywords so that you'll know if search trends change later on. As I'm sure you already know, something that was popular this year might not be popular next year. So it's important to keep a close eye on the search status of the keywords that you've used in your listing. And if you're using the keyword lists feature that we talked about earlier, this process will be a lot faster. But if not, you can always manually type in the keywords from your listing to check their status. Since I'm an eRank expert user, I'm going to click on the keyword research tab right here and open up my keyword lists. From here, I can select the list that I want to look at. I'll click on my blanket list. And now I can check back each month to view the search volumes for my keywords. If I notice that one of my listings has suddenly stopped selling, my first stop is always my keyword list. That way I can check to see if the search volumes for my best keywords have changed. One of my favorite things about eRank is that we update this data every single month. So when trends change, you'll be the first to know and the first to act, ideally before your competitors do. In this video, we discussed search engine optimization through keywords, which is a very powerful and necessary part of ranking on Etsy. But keywords are just one part of building, maintaining, marketing, and growing an Etsy shop. And if my direct and scientific approach to teaching connects with you, I'll actually be opening the doors to my online Etsy coaching program for the first time in 6 months, starting on December 1st, but only for 10 days. The Handmade Alpha Academy isn't just a program about setting up an Etsy shop. It's an entire business mindset that will challenge you to reevaluate your business's structure and develop systems within your shop, branding, and marketing that are designed to appeal to natural psychological triggers. In fact, HAA is the only psychology-based Etsy course in the world, taking you past surface-level strategies and into the bedrock of your business. And this season, we're offering major incentives to new students, including 1 year of eRank Pro, annual access to our Alpha Holiday Bootcamp, and the Product Photography Essentials Workshop by Coach Christina Nicole. I know that taking a leap of faith is terrifying, which is why HAA includes a 30-day, zero questions asked money-back guarantee. If you get inside and don't absolutely love the program, just send us an email and we'll refund you in full. Though the program is self-paced and students have lifetime access, limited registration only takes place from December 1st through December 10th. So if this sounds like something that you may be interested in checking out, be sure to visit the link right here. or down below in the video description to check out our success stories and the class curriculum. Until next time, Pookie.